On November 30, 2020, a young woman, mother of three, traveled from her home in Gamhalo to Badime to look for her missing son and nephew. They had lost touch with one another at the outbreak of conflict. In a place called Kokomdima, she found her son but continued her search for her nephew. On December 9, while she continued to search for her nephew, she would run into two Eritrean soldiers who held her captive for days.
Two
Eritrean soldiers found me. They locked me up in a room. I knew what they were going to do to me, so I started begging for their mercy. I told them that I'm a married woman with children. I also told them about my stitches that I had gotten while giving birth through an operation. One of them said, "So what?" And then they started drinking and mocking me. It was the most horrific night in my life.
The young woman was locked up and tortured for 2 days and later raped by an Eritrean official.
በውስጥ በቤት በክላስ ውስጥ አሰረኝ መርሃዊ ይባላል የሸሸቤት አማሃዳሪ ማለት ነው
His name is Marhawi. He is an administrator of Sheshabit area, Gashbarka zone in Eritrea. He locked me up, beat and tortured me for 2 days. I begged him to release me, but he told me no. I told him I'm ill, and I even showed him my medication, but he didn't believe me and said I was keeping the medication for Tigrayan fighters, and then he raped me.
The survivor says that after she was raped, the soldiers tortured her for hours and called her derogatory terms, targeting her Tigrayan heritage.
ዘንበል ውስጥ ነው ያሰሩኝ 8 ቁጥር አስረው የደበደቡኝ
I was detained in Sembel just because I told them I'm Tigrayan. They tortured me and called me names. For more than 8 hours, I was hung upside down. They apparently called the type of torture the number 8. It was excruciating. I was crying and begging them, but they didn't listen. The man who was torturing me, they were calling him Udgashi. He would call me Dirty Agama. He told me that I deserved to suffer because those that were fighting them were my brothers.
The survivor says that while the physical wounds may have subsided, the psychological trauma remains very much intact and has affected her as well as her family.
The sexual violence that I was subjected to has left a dark spot on my marriage as well as on my children's mental health. I was not the only one traumatized by the violence. My husband and children are also traumatized. My children don't want to hear what happened to me. It has traumatized them. They don't want me to tell my story to the press or even at the hospital. But I do it because I know there are hundreds of thousands of women like me, and I want them to come forward and get help they need, including medical care.
The violence that has been inflicted on women and girls in Tigray has been all the more traumatic due to the lack of care for both their physical and mental wounds, care that has become almost impossible to access as the Ethiopian government continues to block aid and medical supplies.